All right. So now we're going below the line. Is that correct, David?
Not really.
Okay.
So your line is where your gross profit is below the line. Your income is above the line, and then your expenses, direct expenses for labor, parts, sublet, etc. If you have a category of income above the line, you also have a category of outgo above the line, right? Expense.
Yep. OGS.
Okay, and then you have the line, because what's left, gross profit, right below the line, is after I pay for parts, labor, tires, sublet, hazmat, sales tax, what's left in the pile, right? So income and direct expense for that. Tech labor needs to go above the line. Cost. At least the direct cost for your techs that you can put in there. That goes above the line. So if I have 5 categories, if I have, say, parts, labor, sublet, tires, and sales tax, then I also have 5 categories. It's hard for me to raise this arm because I had the shoulder done. So I also have the same 5 categories of expense, and then I have my line, and then what's left is my gross profit. So you would call this up here my cost of goods. What did it cost me to produce 1 hour of parts and labor? And then what was left in the pile is my gross profit.
Right. So now when we go into the gross profit section, or we go into the cost of goods section, I've seen some shop owners make a critical mistake here. And they jump down there and they look at those numbers and they say, well, Cecil tells me my labor cost should be no more than 30%. And right here it says 11%. So I'm good. I'm below that. But that's percentage of total income.
Yeah.
Not percentage of labor sales.
Yeah, not percentage of labor. So that's, and by the way, so parts would be 18%. If I was doing it correctly, parts would be, my total cost for parts would be 18% of my sales.
Yep.
Labor would be 20% of my sales. So if I sold $1 million, I have $200,000 to pay for techs, tech, all the tech costs, FICA, FUTA, workers' comp, paid vacation, holidays, medical, dental, whatever. So think about that. Excuse me. I've got a shop with 3 techs. We're doing $700,000. We should be doing $1.4 million, but we're doing $700,000. And now my tech cost, I only have $200,000 to pay 3 guys with everything. So the guys are only getting $60,000, $50,000 a piece. And the rest of that money, so that's $150,000, and the other $50,000 is going towards FICA, FUTA, workers' comp, paid vacation, whatever else I'm giving the guys. So you got 3 guys that are not getting paid, $50,000, right? In most places, I don't know, David, maybe in your area, 50 would get the job done. But in a lot of places in the United States, Canada, 50,000 is not going to, take care of a family of 4. Just isn't going to do it. And certainly those kids aren't going to go to college if they want to, or even a trade school, because there won't be any money left to do that. So yes, I want no more than 20% of my total sales to go to my tech labor, but that means that I got to be productive and profitable, because I want that 20%. If I have my shop, we had 4 guys, we did $2.6 million. I had $520,000 to pay 4 guys. So my guys were making over $100,000, and I know it's just a number, David. They were making a good living for where they were living. The cost of living was higher there, so at the time they were making more than most other guys in the industry. But because I'm running the business by the numbers, and I'm not emotional about it, I am emotional about it. I get really sad if I don't make profit. That's my emotion, right? And I get really happy when someone calls me and says, I put 3 or 4 things that you told me to do in line, Cecil, and we just had the best week by far we've ever had in our entire lives. And I'm starting to, the pressure's starting to come off, and I can breathe.
All right. We had a conversation talking about pay structures. And Denny's Auto asked, do you guys have any idea for compensation plans for groups? Back shop and front separately? to total shop. I love the idea of team compensation, and I would love to look at some different ideas. Cecil, this is your area of expertise, one of them at least.
Big mistake.
Okay.
Don't do it. Ford tried to do it. Toyota tried to do it. Team compensation will get you in trouble. Team compensation needs to be part of your pay because everybody's on the team. But individual compensation needs to be probably the bulk of it. And here's why. You always have some overperformers and some underperformers. Who do you not want to get pissed off? The overperformers or the underperformers? So if the overperformers are pulling along the underperformers, at some point, they're going to say, what the hell am I doing this for? Because my pay is, I got to drag these SOBs with me, and it causes dissension in the business. And you're going to lose your overperformers, and you'll keep your underperformers. Now, I'm not saying that team compensation is not important. It's certainly in sales, because I also don't want my sales guys competing against each other, at least not, maybe just a little, but not like I'm going to screw you and take all the best clients, that kind of competition. So when we build pay plans both individually, that's where we start, and then we build pay plans also with some, 20% or 30% of my pay is because the team does well, not 100%. So my answer would be, can you do it? Yeah, absolutely. If that's what you want to do. I just, and somebody's going to hear this and go, well, it works at my shop, but I can tell you that in the majority of the businesses, it hasn't worked. It's not a long-term strategy.
Okay, got it.
I see David breathing. So, David, your comments here?
Yeah, it depends if you've got an overperformer. The issue a lot of times is you have shops that have 80% of the work being done by one technician. They are, and I don't understand why people put blinders up with this.
But he's my best guy. He's the guy that saves me. Yeah, he's the.
Well, that's the thing. They consider themselves business geniuses, and they don't realize that. Hey, you realize that 75% of your revenue is being generated by one person. What happens when that person leaves? Yeah, your business is done. I just sat in a BNI presentation, and in my BNI presentation, the guy was talking about his business, and he's talking about his lead guy, and his lead guy does 75% of the work. Well, I'll put it like this: he does 100% of the actual work. He manages the crew. He makes sure that the supplies get done and that the quality control's there, and you make sure everybody's there on time and that everything gets cleaned up. And he does all of that. The only thing the owner does is bring the work in. So, which is part of a franchise. So the franchise sends leads in, they convert the leads, they sell the jobs, and then they leave the rest to that one guy. The one guy. They have one crew led by one guy. And sure, that's easy to control. But the problem is that one guy leaves. One guy leaves. The business is completely done. Yep. It's over. The business is an almost $1 million a year business. Completely decimated with one guy leaving.
Starts arguing with his wife, starts drinking, starts taking drugs.
Anything. Sure.
Starts feeling like he's the only guy there that does all the work and how he should get paid more and blah, 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 blah. And pretty soon you're done.
It takes one overly aggressive competitor to start dumping money into the guy's lap. I have another friend who runs an epoxy flooring business. He had his top two guys, been with him for 10 years, get recruited away to his competitor because the guy said, I'll cut you $20,000 checks if you jump ship today. I'll give you $20,000 right now plus a raise. So you'll get not only more money every single paycheck, but I'm going to give you $20,000 right now. What guy's going to go, I don't need an extra $20,000 to go do the exact same job just somewhere else. No, I'll be okay with that. Now, he did not have his business hinging on those two guys. He didn't. So he was able to adjust. He does a lot of the work himself. He's able to control the crews. He's got a lot of his family members doing the business. But he has it set up properly. And these shop owners don't realize this one guy, his top producer, does 75% of the revenue. And the minute that guy decides that some other shop's going to give more money, or he decides, I'm going to be the shop owner myself, I'm going to go open my own shop, or whatever, the guy's done. your business is gone. So what then?
In the mid teens, 2016, 2017, 2015, we had 35% of our revenue at the Institute come from one corporation. We were training at 260 locations. We were out there training, et cetera, and they were paying us a ton of money. I mean, I could just like boom, 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 boom. They got bought by a private equity company. About a year goes by. Guess what happens? They're like, "Oh, we're not going to pay for training anymore. We're not doing that." And all of a sudden, a third of our income, 35% of our income, disappeared. Almost took the company down. I mean, if I almost took the company down, I literally have a rule that no more than 10% of my business will ever come from one source, ever again. And that would be a rule also I would have for most shops. Because if you have a fleet and it's half your business, and they get, the cousin comes in to manage the fleet, and he's got a sister or brother or whatever that owns a shop, guess what happens to your fleet? It's not going to be here anymore. Their job.
This happened to a shop owner friend of ours, Lucas. I don't know if you remember her. She bought a business.
Yep.
Had no experience running a shop, no experience working in a shop, nothing. She bought a business thinking that she was going to be able to make more money on her dollar buying a repair shop than putting it into the market. And she thought, I'm going to get 15, 20 cents on the dollar. This is going to be great. So she goes and buys the business. The business, like 70, 80% of the business was one fleet. Yep. She did not get along with the They brought in a new fleet manager. The guy didn't like her because she was a little abrasive. They split ways.
Unwilling to bend or flex at all, right? Like
well, I think she was kissing their ass, but that wasn't the point. Like he just didn't like her, and I get it. And so he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go like next door because we have hundreds of vehicles that need to be serviced. We're just gonna go next door. And overnight, all of her business was gone. And she didn't know how she was going to get customers. And she didn't, because she had no systems in place to diversify her customer list. She had no idea what to do. She was completely floored. She's like, I don't know what to do. I'm done. I'm going to have to close up. She ended up selling the business, but pennies on the dollar. I think she lost money on the whole deal. Who knows? But yeah, absolutely. So the only pushback I would have against the group pay thing, I 100% agree with you. But if you look at your overall revenue,
you better.
That's like four times. That's like 4 times in the last year. I'm like, oh my god!
No, because you're right. You're right.
I love it.
You're right. You're right. You're 100% right. But what I would do is I would stop and go. My number one guy is producing. I have 3 guys. My number one guy should be producing 40% of my income. And then the other 2 guys should be producing 30% each.
Yeah.
So can I almost do group pay? Yeah, you still want to incentivize a higher producer with maybe a little bit more base pay, and then everybody splits off a little extra across the board, right? But the base pay is still significantly higher for your better producer because they just produce more income. But the minute you see that skew and you go, hey, I got 75, 10 and 15, like that should stop and go, holy crap, I got a problem.
But I think that's another problem. I mean, now you're going into how are you managing their productivity, and why do you have some people that are unproductive and other people that are overproductive? Well, yeah.
Cecil, they ignore it. I'm sorry. Like, I can give you lists.
Yeah.
We can get on Facebook, into the Facebook group, and every loudmouth, smart-ass shop owner, like that guy, one great tech, they're all one great tech away from having no business. Yep. And they have no idea. Yep. Or, like you're saying, they have one giant fleet.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, what do you mean 30% of your income comes from one customer? That doesn't concern you? They go, oh, no, I got a great relationship. It's like, dude, you got one pissed off.
Until you don't.
Yeah, then it's over. What then?
How many?
Remember the Repair Pal conversation?
Yeah.
Somebody had built their entire business off of Repair Pal. 40% of their gross revenue was Repair Pal. And he's like, I got to cut them out. He's like, they're taking more and more and more.
Yeah. And then when he cuts it out, 40% of your business is gone. I need diversification in my income, I also need diversification in my workforce. So, and that's that's one of the kind of key principles is like who's steering the damn ship, right? Somebody has to look at that and go, well, I got 2 guys that are not productive. What are we going to do about that? Because keep the other guy at his high production, bring the other 2 up. All of a sudden, you got a business that was doing, $700,000. Now it's doing $1.5 million, and there's money for everybody, and your customers are happy too. So, yeah, I'm there, baby. I get it.